So Deb, we should be on. Do we also have Mr. Carter?
We do.
Okay, good. And Fran?
Fran's not joined us yet.
Okay. All right, are we ready? I want to welcome everybody and call to order the Board of Aldermen meeting for Thursday, October 7th for North Topsail Beach. And I would like to, before we go into the invocation, I would like to welcome our new town manager, Alice Darian. She's on Zoom, so she officially starts in a week, but she did get to get on here today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over to Connie for our invocation.
Bless us. Sorry. Bless this town and may it remain a beautiful and friendly place to live. We pray that this board makes fair and informed decisions tonight. We also pray that our police officers, firefighters, and members of our armed services here and around the world remain safe as they risk so much for our security. We also pray that our town be spared the ravages of hurricanes and other natural disasters, and that everyone associated with the town remains safe and secure. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance, if you'll join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Now I've heard a few items as far as changes for the agenda. I believe one is Mr. Chris Gibson. Is he on here? I thought he was on here.
Yeah.
No?
Let's approve it and then.
Okay,
second and
sorry.
then modify.
All right, so can I have an approval of the agenda?
I've got some modifications. Don't we do the modifications before we approve it?
I thought we did it. We made the motion and then we
Yeah, so you
we
made the
discussed.
motion.
Mhm.
I'll second it for purposes.
And then we can
to discuss
discuss.
it.
Yes, sir.
I've got two additions, if it pleases the board, and I apologize for dropping these on at the last minute. The first one is under continuing business, and it's the status of our paid parking program.
Okay.
And the second one is under new business, and it is to discuss the upcoming NC Byways fall conference and the potential of the town once again serving as a sponsor for that event.
Okay.
All right, Mayor, I have two updates. First, under continuing business, item D, Chris Gibson is not going to be able to
Okay.
be here this evening.
So push
Unfortunately,
November?
he had a medical emergency for a continuing condition, and so we'll just push that to November if it pleases the board.
Okay.
And the other addition is to add under after closed session, a new item to add the North Carolina Resilient Coastal Community Project Community Action Team update by Alderman Leonard and myself.
Okay, so wait, because where's the closed
It's after
session?
it's after the closed
I
session.
know I'm looking for closed session. It's just right. Oh, I see it. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. And I'm sorry, Mr. Benson, what was it you wanted to add there?
That the
Coastal resilience?
Coastal Resilience Committee, Community Action Team, we've got an update for the board. Need action,
And why doesn't that go up under continuing business?
because we have to discuss in closed session first.
Okay, so you want to come out and do that? Okay.
For attorney-client, to preserve attorney-client privilege.
Well, do we or not?
I thought it was personnel. It's personnel matter.
Yeah, it's personnel now.
Okay. So do we
I
have,
got one other one.
yes, sir.
Just on the, it was my confusion, and I apologize for saying already. Under the continuing business on update on capital projects, just as a heads up, if not we change that, I'm also going to give us an update on the financial planning model for a lot of projects and stuff as well. So it'll be encapsulated in that, but I just want to make sure that was clear. It wasn't just the current capital projects, but it was that model as well.
But the model is also associated to all of the capital improvement projects we'd like.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But I just want to make sure that was clear. That it wasn't
Okay.
just that.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Grant, to the extent those updates may include the Becker Morgan proposal, I would ask that you provide that update after close session.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so we're doing two after.
Okay. So we'll just cut that to after I just put, put the Becker Morgan proposal.
That's what I just did.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So do we have a motion
No,
to?
I have
Yes, sir.
another, if we are going to put the Becker Morgan discussion in closed session, then we need to add an item after closed session for the outcome of the
That's where I
Oh,
did.
That's what he suggested.
Right.
He suggested that.
Yep. I got it.
Yeah, it'll be consideration of the Becker Morgan proposal.
So do
Okay.
we have a motion to approve the modified agenda?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hey, before we go on though.
Yes,
Mayor,
sir. It's a whole lot of before we goes on.
I know, but this was really important. I think we might want to introduce our town clerk because I think this is her first meeting.
Oh, I forgot, yes. So, and Danielle has been introducing herself as folks have come up and signed up. And I know a lot of folks have already spoken to you on the phone. I've gotten many, many compliments. So this is our new town clerk and her name is Danielle. And she has not run away screaming or yelling. It's been, what, has it been a month now? Yeah. So she's moved here, so she can't go anywhere now. So welcome. Thank you, Tom. We know where she lives. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the manager's report.
I have a quick manager's report.
Well, you can type now, Bill, so why is it quick?
Let's talk about the town hall, work continues, and we're close to the finish. I keep saying that to you all.
Can we walk through it? Is it unlocked during the day?
We can.
Okay.
I went through it the other day with the chief. It looks great.
Okay.
It really does look good.
It looks good from the outside.
Okay.
We're still having problems getting the countertops, but they're supposed to be here any day. Hopefully they'll, because we can't finish the plumbing work until the countertops are here, and that's for the bathrooms,
Mhm.
the kitchen, everywhere.
Mhm.
Interior doors should arrive between 15 and 20 October. They'll be pre-finished and ready to hang, so that should be quick. You know, the internet, we've already gotten with Caitlin, got with the internet company, and we have already installed it inside, so we'll be able to do that more quickly. Computer Warriors is also scheduling dates to do all the IT hookups inside, so we'll be ready to open, so we won't be doing that after we get in. The floors are complete. We're getting touch-ups and inspections done on that soon. The 40-foot storage container has been out in the lot the whole time. We moved it the other day, so it's gone.
Is it empty and gone, or you
It
just?
was empty and gone. It wasn't mine, so I couldn't keep it.
Okay, all right.
Everything may slip to some small items, but we may move in around the third week of November, is what I'm hoping. Or we can wait for Christmas. I hope we'll be in the third week of November. The parking lot is also scheduled to be refinished, if you start looking at that, because it looks kind of rough. And Caitlin is looking at the landscaper to come in and fix that up.
Okay, don't we usually have our own staff do the landscaping?
The last time we had a landscaping crew come in because it's gonna be some, I think it's gonna be some replanting. And then Scott's crew came in and. did
Just
the
kept it up.
touch-up.
Okay.
In the town manager's position, we introduced Alice already. She's scheduled to be here on October the 18th, and we're in contact several times since she's been selected. We look forward to her joining the team, as this will be likely my last board meeting as the interim town manager. I'd just like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do that, and thank the staff for everything they've put up with me and I've put up with them. So it's been good. Special thanks to Laura Oxley for helping us on the side on many items, not just one or two. She's been a great help. And our new clerk Danielle Lundy jumped in and she has swiftly taken charge of that position. The mayor's report was wonderful. I enjoyed it. And yours is a great communication to the citizens. You've done a great job with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
So
right.
I would just thank the chief for stepping in as interim manager, and cross your heart, we really are gonna get into town hall in November after 3 years
I'm
of
gonna
being
work on
here,
that.
there, and over there.
I go down there and talk to him every day, so
Okay.
I'm a bird dog that.
I bet you the police might be moved in first.
I would guess.
That'd be a good idea.
Also,
Actually, it would.
One other thing, Mayor, I'd just like to apologize to the chief, because when we were at Dick Peters' park dedication, I said in jest to him and his wife, don't worry, it'll only be 5 or 6 months before you get out of the interim job, not knowing it actually was going to be 5 or 6 months.
It's been a quick one.
I just want to thank you very much for the color choices down there in the interior of the town hall. I haven't seen avocado colored countertops since the early 70s. I'm only joking. Did a great job for us, Bill, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
There you go with the mustard.
And the good news is he's not going
I
anywhere.
know.
Okay, so then we'll move on to open forum. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, we have one, Mr. Will Evans.
Okay, Mr. Evans, can you just give us your address as well?
209, yeah, good to see y'all again.
You too, sir.
I'm at 209 Seashore.
Seashore, yeah,
Across the street is the famous 210 Seashore.
yeah.
I moved here in 95. I've been here for 26 years. It's hard to believe it's been 26 years. And of course, across the street is 210. The previous owners did a good job in keeping that house up to speed. And 7 years ago, the doctor bought it, and he has not done anything to that house.
Mhm.
First of all, he's never moved in it. He's never lived in that house. When I first talked to him on the beach, he said he were gonna move there and renovate his townhouse, his house in town. And that never happened. He never moved in that building. And so the rats are multiplying. The visitors have slacked off because of the summer people. The summer people were always wanting to go in there and look at it. I don't think anybody has ever been inside that house lately. For years. We don't know what the inside even looks like. Part of the roof is off, so you can imagine what it looks like inside. But I think, I'd like to hear his story. And how do you get to hear his story? I would love to hear what he has to say. And I wouldn't want to tear his house down until I hear his story. And so that's the hearing, I think, is the big thing that I'm interested in. And I'm not interested in the house being torn down. If he'll clean it up, he might be able to sell it or do something else with it. But I'm not saying he has to tear it down.
You're just wanting it cleaned up. And I know I did appreciate speaking with you the other day.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned to our town attorney that you had some questions about the process, because I don't know that we're at liberty to speak about individual homes, but Attorney Eads, would you be able to just maybe fill this gentleman in on the process that we need to go through?
Sure.
And just,
I'll be happy to, but I believe Ms. Oxley's.
Okay,
on
and
the
It's
agenda.
on the agenda.
is where on the agenda zone? Oh, it is.
Agenda
Yeah, it
All right,
is.
well, are you, then let's cover
I
it
have all the
there.
statutes right here.
Item 9E.
You wanna rearrange
I'm
it?
okay. I know, I'm okay. Are you okay? So are you staying for the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
All right, then let's just cover it where it is, because
Okay.
we have been making progress, and as they've alerted
Good.
you to, Miss Oxley has definitely been helping us with that,
Appreciate your
so,
help.
yeah, so we'll get to that. All right, anybody else in open forum? Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, then we'll move on. So do we have Fran, I believe?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Fran.
Hi, how are you? How's the board?
Sorry, but then muted.
Every month.
It might be him.
Everyone hear me?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, we're good for you to go, Fran. I think Deb's
Okay.
trying to bring up your. Okay, she's got it up.
Okay, this is going to be just the October monthly update on coastal engineering projects up and down the North Topsail Beach shoreline. The next slide, please, Deb. And you can just go to the slide with the different phases of shoreline.
There we go.
Okay, so this is just an overview of the North Topsail Beach shoreline from phase 1 up to the north, phase 5 down to the south. This upcoming winter season, starting November 16, we're going to begin to continue the truck haul in phases 1 and 2, north of the pier. And, you know, basically fill in the remaining portions of that Florence category B, the dune truck haul project. And then in the pipeline, we have the phase 5 Cat G project, which is, you know, a little over 600,000 cubic yards. It's much larger. And then we're also the phase 1 Cat G project related to Dorian. So we're finishing up the Hurricane Florence and we're getting onto Hurricane Dorian. We have been working a little bit on Hurricane Dorian in actually the phases 2, 3, and 4 as well. But so this is just a general overview of the projects going up and down the beach. Next slide, please, Deb. This is the truck haul that'll begin November 16th. It'll be the north of the pier. And this is just fill in all the dune that did not get touched up last year or repaired and restored last year to pre-Florence levels. We'll finish this up and it's, you know, just under 2 miles. That's, you know, pretty much exactly what we had last year. The same trucking outfit, the same contractor, and, you know, you will be seeing trucks and they'll be accessing the same beach access north of the pier, the public beach access area. Next slide, please, Deb.
Fran, can you go back on that slide where it says Dorian project and sandbags begin? What are the reference to sandbags?
That is where the sandbags begin, and there are some rules about dune restoration with the sandbags, and so I kind of, you know, put that area there to stop where we really can't do any dune restoration in front of the sandbags. The regulatory agencies just don't want that.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure there wasn't some type of sandbag project. You're just simply noting that that's where the sandbags are and you have some limitations there.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. Okay, next slide, Deb, please. This is the phase 1. So it's up here in the Topsail Reef Villas. This is the permitting that's ongoing now. This project is, you know, we're working forward to get this material on the beach. Dorian only allowed about 16,000 cubic yards of material, which isn't a whole lot. We're going to permit more. We're going to permit 40,000 cubic yards of material. You'll notice to the kind of the southwest of the Topsail Reef Villas, that's where the COBRA, the Coastal Barrier Resources Act, starts. And we're limited by, you know, FEMA funding for engineered beach projects in COBRA. Obviously we were allowed to do a dune restoration in the COBRA area. And we are really grateful for that because FEMA has in the past for other towns along the East Coast, they have denied them before for that. So it was great that, and we do it, and there's precedent. North Topsail Beach has repaired those dunes with FEMA money to, protect that upperland infrastructure. But long story short, engineered beaches can really only happen in non-Cobra zones. And so we are a little limited to where we can put this material in the phase 1 shoreline. But, this is where we're going to put material. Next slide, please, Deb. And this kind of relates to something the mayor mentioned, as well as, and I spoke with Alderman Benson about this earlier this week. The inlet hazard areas, there's a current inlet hazard area, and then there's the pending current hazard area. I spoke with Heather Coates at DCM, the Department of Coastal Management, about the quote unquote pending inlet hazard areas, which are much larger, as you can see, than the current. There are more restrictive rules related to the inlet hazard areas. And one of them is about dune restoration, where you're really limited to, they don't want new expanded dunes, but you are kind of allowed to put some dunes in there if you can prove that there was recently a dune there, that you're just kind of replacing the exact dune profile. This is just another, issue of one of the hurdles, that we're dealing with along this shoreline, where these inlet hazard areas just are a little more restrictive. That pending, the quote unquote pending, it should be, it's supposed to be active, almost any day now. And so we'll just see and go from there and deal with it as it was. But a lot of the towns up and down the coast in North Carolina have been pushing back on these expanded inlet hazard areas, but the DCM has been wanting to expand these inlet hazard areas for over 20 years, and I guess they finally are doing it. Next slide, please. This is the phase 5 beach nourishment, and this is this area did get a nice healthy dune restoration for Matthew a couple years ago. We're coming back here and we're not putting any sand on the dune. We're putting the sand out on the beach, the recreational beach. The dune, and then the project here is, from the about 3828 Island Drive on the northern end down to the town limit on the southern end. It is a fairly good nourishment project where, about 100 feet of sand will be added to the beach. And you see the several example profiles, 3 profiles out there where you can see about 105 feet of beach is placed out there. And the dunes do look pretty good still. The dunes are in still good shape from that Matthew truck haul project a couple years ago. And this project will occur over 2 years, where we want to kind of phase in funding and everything. And this is a much, this is, by splitting it up, we're thinking it's about a $10 million project this year and then a $10 million project next year. We'll split it up, and we're hoping to start around January for this project, which will phase in nicely with the completion of the truck haul project, the dune truck haul project to the north up in phases 1 and 2. And then we're hoping the project will be over 2 seasons, and we're splitting it up for funding reasons and other reasons, just, truck haul reasons. But we're hoping we're planning to get about 1/3 of the project, the complete 630,000 project, 1/3 of the project done this year and 2/3 of the project done the following winter. So that's kind of where we are with that. And we had a meeting earlier this week with Alderman Grant and Caitlin and Doug Carter, just, regarding funding, and the bid package will go out for this here in the next couple of weeks. And we're trying to get the bid package to coordinate closely with the LGC funding for this project. Next slide, please. This is the county beach access dune rehabilitation, and Alderman Benson can probably fill in everybody a little bit more. As far as I know, there's still kind of a memorandum of understanding related to this, where the town of North Topsail Beach and Onslow County doesn't have a coastal engineer. And obviously North Topsail Beach has this entire area well taken care of, except for this 600 feet shoreline, which is just unfortunate that Onslow County decided to separate out this from the rest of the project, because the other Onslow County beach accesses, North Topsail Beach and FEMA, we took care of it, post Florence. This was not, and obviously it's one of the weakest spots along the shoreline on North Topsail Beach, as you know, that the town has seen those washouts and the damage to the park to the landward side. So we're going to continue. We really want to try to get this project done here in the next couple of months, hopefully. And Alderman Benson can probably fill us in on that, on more recent activities and developments. Next slide, please, Deb. So for annual monitoring, the town conducts annual monitoring from for all 11 miles of beach, oceanfront shoreline. And this one was actually a pretty pleasant year, a good year for North Topsail Beach, really from end to end, from phase 1 down to phase 5. Pretty much most of all the bars here are basically showing the survey change from July 2020 to July 2021. So about 1 year, and this is every year. And the town does this, pre-hurricane season. In case there is a hurricane, we can document the losses for storms caused by any hurricanes for FEMA reimbursement purposes. You can see all the largest bars are up near in the phase 1 shoreline, and that's related to the Corps project, where the Corps put a bunch of material up there. We are seeing that material, but and then obviously the truck haul did put material, so we know we put material on the beach. But even, if you look down at phase 4 and phase 5, there were a lot of gains that we saw in that area, and that is basically a lot due to spreading, because there was no material put there over the last year between July 2020 and July 2021. As an example, can we just go to the next slide really quickly, Deb? This is an example station that's in phase 5. And this one, if we do the calculations, we're doing the calculations to include from the dune all the way out to 18 feet deep, which is, almost, it's 1,000 feet offshore. It's in 18 feet of water. But sand can move around there and shallower than that. You can see up here, and so we're doing the volume calculations from the dune out to 18 feet of water. And a lot of times if you're walking the beach, especially in this area, you don't really see much of a difference from year to year. But in the offshore, there was a significant gain, which is important, which helps with the beach. And that material, ideally will help with storm response and as a buffer. And it's a good indicator of a healthy beach. And you can see from the dune, if you look at the dune, and the red line is from 2020, the red line is the new survey, and the blue line is from a year before that. And you can see that the red is obviously there's a gain in the surf zone, and then in the near shore, in the near shore surf zone. And actually, you do see a bit of erosion in that 15 to 18 foot area. So you're just seeing change, and obviously there's some natural variability there. But overall, it was a good. The results were very promising. It showed a lot of it was a good year for erosion and accretion really, and lack of erosion. You can go to the next slide, please, Deb. And so here's where the largest gain was, and this is a station 155, and it's up near it's up basically where the Corps did their project, and that pipeline was right there in front of the sandbags. You see, there's not much. There's accretion, but the accretion is all in the water. And so obviously, if you're walking that side of the beach, there is a little bit more upper beach accretion in the kind of the intertidal zone, and even a little higher now. But there's a lot more accretion, and it's even out farther in the shoal. And this area is tricky too, because obviously it stays shallow farther out because of that shoal. And so that we have to cut off that 18-foot contour a little bit closer, because that shoal just reaches out so far. And then next slide, please, Deb. This was kind of just the overall results. And you can see that actually the entire shoreline gained over about 780,000 cubic yards of material from year to year. We can account for a lot of that material from the core project and from the truck haul, but there's still a significant amount of material that is basically can be attributed to sand spreading. The truck haul projects, the core projects, the sand spreading can be, it's a cumulative effect. Even Surf City put in a bunch of sand on their beach. The town of North Topsail Beach put in a bunch of sand on your beach. There's kind of a cumulative year over year effect, and it's usually a positive effect when you're doing that. And I think we're seeing some of that. And then we're just seeing, just natural variability. And we knock on wood, we got pretty lucky this year with, major hurricanes and tropical storms and that sort of thing. So, really just a pleasant result, especially compared to, some of the previous years where we had dealt with Florence and that sort of thing. So I think another slide, please.
Yeah.
Hey, Fran, before you move on, could I
Yeah,
just make a point?
sure.
You're talking about accretion and showing this profile. When we all walk down the beach and we see that, like the Army Corps project, that sand that's disappeared, and people say, oh, the sand's gone. But accretion means that sand has gone underwater offshore, and it's shallower offshore, which means when the waves come in, there's not as much water to make a big wave. So it's still very important, this sand, it's below the water. So we really haven't lost the sand, as Fran is pointing out. It's there, and it's going to make smaller waves attacking our dune line.
It actually refracts the energy.
It still protects the shoreline.
Yeah.
It's just not visible because it's
Right.
under the water.
Yeah.
Good point. Real good point.
Okay, Fran, you can keep going.
Okay, and then, yeah, I mean, and I think, we've talked with the Corps about that particular contractor who wasn't very good. Obviously, they did put material on the beach, it's good to show, but in the literal system, the beach, the sand system. Obviously, we would have rather had like a more traditional beach nourishment where the sand was on the dry beach and you can see it. And it sounds like the Corps will not hire that contractor anymore, and the Corps will go with the other two contractors who are much better at creating beaches. But at the same time, it is reassuring to be able to account for the material that they said they put there, and that we're also identifying that. So, and then I think with just the last slide, please, Deb. And this is just kind of just to recap. The phase 1 and phase 2 truck haul, dune truck haul will begin this November 16. The phase 5 category G project, that's permit application is processing. The bid package will go out this month. The Hurricane Dorian phase 1, that project was separated out from the phase 5 because of the inlet hazard area and other difficulties with sandbags, but that is progressing. And we want to get that project to happen this winter, in the winter window. The EIS for the New River Inlet Management Plan. Drink here. That is moving forward. There will be a large meeting that's tentatively scheduled for November 3, and that will be up at the library. And that will be another kind of stakeholder meeting where we'll have agencies there and then local stakeholders, any concerned citizens, that sort of thing. I'm still continuing to work with the finance officer, Caitlin, and DEC associates, Doug and Andrew Carter, about funding and just trying to support them as much as I can. And Alderman Grant's also helping out. We will be up there to do large sediment and gravel sampling, which is all the beach towns in the state have to do. And we'll be up there doing that here. We have to do that before the truck haul begins in November 16. So it'll be this month. We'll be up there, looking at shells and large gravel. CO planting has finally begun, and I think maybe the Steve Mercer with Coastal Transplants, he's hitting just the crest of the dune for now and really trying to get as much material there, as many sprigs as possible along there. And then he will come back in the spring and do the seaward slope of the dune down to the dune toe. And he will also go back at that point, and any kind of sprigs that maybe didn't survive, didn't do too well along the crest, he will come back and fix those up as well. You know, he really does take a lot of pride in that. And thanks to Scott with the town for helping out with the meter with Onslow Water and Sewer. The county beach access, that's a kind of a work in progress. And overall, there was a significant gain in beach volume due to kind of the fill projects and just a natural gain and natural spreading. So that was those are the updates, and I'll take any questions.
So Fran, I'll start with just one question and then I'll see if any board members have additional questions. I have been still getting questions about crossovers for oceanfront parcels. And I understand that at this point in time, CAMA is still not approving any type of crossover to be built. They're still going with like the walkway over and with the rope to direct people over. So my assumption, and I just don't know if this is correct or not, is that once our dunes are back to being healthy again and vegetated like prior to Florence, that restriction may be lifted, or is that just how it's going to be moving forward?
That basically, I agree with your interpretation of it. It is an interpretation, and it is kind of up to DCM ultimately. But it sounds like as soon as the dunes are there and stable, and the vegetation there is healthy, and then the dune has sprigs on it, then that is when they will allow the rebuilds.
Right.
So Fran, at Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission meeting last month, I guess it was last month, we did talk about that. That question came up. And Mayor, the CAMA will not allow posts in the dune until that dune is considered vegetated.
Mhm.
And just planting sprigs doesn't make it vegetated.
No, it has to be stable.
We learned that it has to be stable, and there has to be a variety of grasses there, not just the sea oats that we planted. And this variety will come in naturally from the surrounding area, but think about 3 years before that dune will be considered vegetated.
Okay. I just wanted to say.
And 3 years, I think, is a pretty conservative, because I've seen some sprigs, just take 3 or 4 months. And I mean,
Okay.
they get fertilized, and depending on the rain and the weather. But I've seen some sprigs, that were planted at the beginning in, April, and by July, they look wonderful and, healthy, large plants.
That would be
Well,
good
I was
news.
gonna go on. Okay, so Alderman Grant, you have a
Because I
question?
want to follow up on that. Fran, as you know, the most disappointing thing to me about this whole thing is the sprigs, because I've been on this for like 2 months. And the talk that the mayor brought up is a very fair thing, because you got people renting houses along there that if we had put the sprigs in, would not be walking all over the dunes. And they're there constantly, and putting them on the top like he did. Okay, and I've actually talked to the crew out there, and they did have COVID. Apparently the whole crew got COVID. But what they've done now is, apparently they must be using high school kids, because on Saturday, there's 8 of them out there, and during the week, there's 2. It's always the same 2 guys. And to me, that's the thing we're gonna have to ride really hard, because frankly, I think we'd have a lot less people, a lot less issues with the dunes and stuff. Second thing is, I happened to be walking back to my house, and there was a guy out there putting flags in, and I told him to get off the dunes, and he happened to be the CAMA guy out marking the beach. Okay, so I didn't actually tell him to get off the dunes, but I said, hey, there's $500 for the town if you keep standing there. And so we talked for about 15 minutes, and actually.
You might want to be nicer to him next
I know,
time.
I will. No, but actually, we had a good conversation. But actually, what he said on the timing was, I said, well, when does it start counting? And he said 18 months at the minimum, 2 years is normal, could be longer than that. Because I was asking when does it start counting, and when do you start measuring, and when does a 60-foot come in. So they are out. He was a really nice.
Yeah,
was a
he
young
was very
guy.
nice.
He's a
Yeah.
really nice young man, but I was like,
that
let's put all the little
Chris?
flags out
Curtis.
there, of course. But again, I think we really got to hit hard getting those things out there, because I understand planning them helps the dunes and everything else. But just as importantly is, you got people that are paying $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, a week to rent these places. What they see is nothing but sand to get down the beach. If we had sprigs in there, they wouldn't be walking through that stuff. And I think
Not
it's
as
something we
many.
got to get a handle on quicker. So off my pedestal, but that, as you know, that's been my pet peeve for about 2 months. So,
Susan, do you have any questions?
I did have one question about the permitting for the phase 1 area. You said that it's moving along. How confident are you that it will get done in this window?
A minor modification, I'm relatively confident that, that we can get, and assuming, we can get that permit issued by the beginning, somewhere around January, February, I'm pretty confident. I don't see a lot of opposition. People don't mind putting sand on the beach, and especially this area. And it's a small project, and the bar area material is well known.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Benson, Mayor Pro Tem.
No.
Alderman Leonard.
Just one thing, and it's not a question but a comment. Fran, your slide that Town Beach projects updates, it's a real good summary. I like to see that, and hopefully we'll see that every month. That just it puts everything you said into one slide, and we probably need to hang that somewhere on our webpage too, because it's a real good summary of everything. Everything we've got going on beach related in the near future between now and the end of the year, it's all on that one sheet of paper, and it's really good. So thanks.
Thanks.
Alderman Fluttle.
I just wanted to reiterate phase 5 nourishment that is coming this coming spring or
Yes.
January, is that what you said?
Yes,
And then the following, like November, we'll start with the second part of it?
yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Fran. I appreciate your
Okay.
time.
Okay, and I can hang out for a little bit if I'm not sure if anyone needs me or.
if you could through my update, that would help, just
Sure,
in case. I
sure.
step on something from our meeting
Sure.
as well.
Okay,
The next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. All right, continuing business, which would be Alderman Grant, update on capital projects and financial modeling.
I'm trying to keep this brief on everything. So
I'm gonna hold you to that.
It's gonna be hard. This was a lot more complicated than we thought when we first started looking at the modeling for this. And some of the things that frankly I didn't understand when I first joined the board is that we talk about a FEMA project, and we've got about $20 million worth of projects that are coming up in addition to what we're doing. They don't give us money up front. They reimburse us. We have to come up with the money up front.
Mhm.
The additional thing that they do at FEMA is they withhold about 25% at the end. So if you're looking, and they can hold it for 1 or 2 years. So you've got a town who's got total revenues of about $10 million, half of which is, just infrastructure costs and things like that. We've got money going into the beach. And so we had to build a model with, and I want to thank the board for hiring Mr. Carter, because I'm not sure how we could do it. I think Caitlin would agree with that without Mr. Carter and their expertise, because we've got to get approvals with the LGC. We've got to go through this whole process, the timing, when the LGC meets and all that kind of stuff. And so what we're looking at right now with $20 million coming up, and I think Fran mentioned it, and the current thing, I think Caitlin said we're still owed over $3 million from the current project by FEMA that we're out in cash. Now you go and you start looking ahead, and we're going to be spending $20 million over the next 18 months. And we don't want to lose that, because clearly it's not free money, because we have to borrow it from a bank beforehand. We have to go to the LGC and get approval. We've also got within the USDA loan, which we've talked about, there's a commitment that was made to the LGC that once the beach fund gets over $5 million, any money over $5 million has to go against the loan. So you have to model in the fact that you look at your cash today and you say, we should be okay because using Fran's analysis, if we start doing the project on November 16th, we probably won't get an invoice until January, right? And so we believe we'll be able to get LGC approval on that. With Mr. Carter's help and Caitlin working on it, we should be able to have basically, I call it a line of credit, but it's a note that we're going to have to borrow $10 million to front the FEMA project. And so it's a very complicated thing. He feels very confident right now in the initial modeling that we're okay. And as Caitlin and we talked about, the good news for us as a town is we collect most of our property taxes before the end of the year, as everybody knows, it pays them because the penalties don't start until January, right? And so those are kind of front loaded. And so it looks okay, but without a loan, a minimum of 10 million, which we're going in this time, and then we'll have to do the same thing next year. Without that money, we can't fund the project. Doug, Mr. Carter, I think he's on the phone, has done a number of these things, and he can deal with more. But I think we've made a lot of progress on this type of thing. And again, as Fran mentioned, we're looking at over 600,000 cubic yards of sand that we're going to be putting in just in phase 5, in addition to the stuff we're doing right now. And again, we're looking at a total cost, and Doug, you can jump in any time, of around $20 million. And so the current plan is we're going to go get the funding sources in place for the 10, all right? And to be able to pay the invoices back then. But in worst case, make sure we can cover the invoices until we get that in place. So I think that's critical for the town. I mean, like I said, to put it in context, $20 million for a town that's got $10 million in total annual revenue is a big number. And something for us to take on becomes very important. And I'm glad that we're building these models because it takes into account what the mayor talked about. We've got another project we'll be talking about in a little bit, which is the firehouse that's coming in. And even though we're going to incur some expense this year, assuming the board approves going forward with that piece of it, the major dollars, because of the permitting and the design and everything else that's already underway, it's probably going to be next fiscal year, but that's going to be several $1 million more to build the firehouse. So we're building all this into a financial model with Doug's help to help us. And I think it's something that's great that this board has really, been working hard on. And again, from my perspective, while I do understand numbers and stuff from running businesses, I didn't realize some of the complexities that we have as a town in particular. And the other good news about this, and Doug can talk about it, the money that we'll be borrowing is kind of an interesting thing because the collateral for it actually is FEMA, that we're not using the full faith and credit of the town. In other words, tying up the finances of the town. The asset that we're using to borrow the money is the fact that FEMA reimburses. So Doug, you want to add anything?
Actually, I think you covered it very well. So I really don't have anything to add unless there are questions.
Well, and just in summary, and like I said, I've got a lot more detail, but if somebody wants to contact me, that's fine. The reality is in the next 2 years, we're going to have more expenditures in sand and capital projects, I think, than we've ever had in the history of the town, which is a good thing when most of it's coming back. And also in the firehouse, and I believe, Alice, you've worked with the firehouse very recently in Hilton Head. So I know I've been kind of foraging things. You don't have to look at them now. You're not on the payroll yet. But obviously that's something we're going to look to your expertise on to see if there's money out there for the firehouse, because we're going to look at every revenue source we can for that, see if there's grants and things out there as well. So,
And I think
coming.
I would just want to thank all of the work that you all have done, Caitlin, Mr. Carter, Mr. Grant, Mr. Benson as well on some of the capital projects. I mean, it's just, we have got to be creative, being a small town with a small budget and being able to pay for these projects, use FEMA as the capital to back it up. So we're not incurring that type of debt on the town. So thank you all for that.
and I would throw a kudo to Doug because when I first looked at us borrowing money, I didn't know how we had the collateral to do it. And he's been creative in doing these before, and using FEMA as a collateral is a pretty great way for the town not to have their credit tied up. Because I'm not really sure, Doug, we could borrow $10 million on our, what did you tell me when we first started this, that you've got to show how you're going to raise the revenue for the 10 million if you use the full faith and credit. And so
Correct.
everybody to understand, what is it, 10 cents in property taxes raises $1 million?
Yeah.
So you get an idea, if we had to raise property taxes to cover this versus FEMA, be a huge burden on the town.
Alderman Grant, when do you think the rest of the board and myself will be able to see the draft financial model?
Doug?
Well, Caitlin and I are working together and we're hoping to see more results from the audit soon. I
Okay.
think directly after we get the audited financials for the end of the year, we can look at the model in the beach fund, which will show
Okay.
us what we can do with respect to perhaps early payoff of the USDA loan, because I think the sooner we can get that off ourselves, the more rapidly we can make decisions all our own.
Mhm.
And then we'll be looking on the general government side, because as we approach the fire station, we're going to have to decide any amount that cannot be brought in by a grant or another source. We're going to have to look at how we borrow and afford to pay that as well, and how we finance that over a relatively long period, more closely aligning with the useful life of the asset. So we're going to look on the general government side with respect to the fire station, and we'll be looking on the beach side with respect to the FEMA projects, and then ultimately how we pay off the USDA debt so that we can have those revenues available for other phases, project work and other phases.
So
And Mayor,
as,
just one thing, I apologize for that, because one of the things I forgot to mention is we can't, they're building the model. The model is fairly solid right now, because the audit will tell us how much we have to pay on the USDA loan. And that could be anywhere from $1 to $3.5 million. Okay, that is going to materially affect what we do. And we can't go to the LGC, as I understand it, Doug, until you have the audit in our hands. You
Okay.
can't go forward with it. So my apologies. Go ahead, Doug. And you had a question? I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say, if you guys can just keep us posted when you start to get those results in and when you feel like you're ready to present a draft to the board.
Well, let me just say this, Mayor, given that we're going to go to the LGC in January
Mhm.
for the approval of the of the FEMA SOBs, we'll at or about that time frame where you take some actions in December and January, you'll be hearing a lot more from us at that time period.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Eric,
Doug, does everybody here know what a SOB is? I do.
a special
Use the shortcut.
obligation bond.
Okay.
He keeps using SOB on me, and I finally had to ask him what it was, so it's.
Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Carter or Alderman Grant? No? All right, then we're gonna move on to community involvement with Alderman Meyer and Alderman Plettle.
Okay. You want to start, Connie?
As you might know, sure. As you might know, we're trying to get community involvement so that we can find some things to do for the town citizens to come together, perhaps have recreational opportunities, maybe some festivals, just things to bring the people of the town together.
Food truck rodeo.
Food truck rodeo. And we would like it to be community driven, not board driven. We really want people that have great ideas. We know people have great ideas out there. We have had some interest in this, but we're still gathering applications.
Right, I think we have 3 right now, and we were going to stop after 30 days for advertising, but I'd like to be able to advertise it a little bit longer so that more people can maybe jump on board, because we really want to get this off and running, and we're going to need the community involvement to help the community. So anyway, we're looking forward to it. And we're probably going to set up a meeting with the people that have already replied and maybe get the ball rolling in the next couple of weeks.
Right. We'd like, we're not like Surf City or Topsail Beach where they have a main street, or basically a main street where people can get to know their neighbors, can get together. And we kind of envision things, opportunities for people to get together, and know their neighbors, know the people that live in the town.
Yeah, and bring the south end in up to the north end and north end down to the south end so that we can be one community.
Yeah, total community, total sense of community, all of us.
And don't forget us in the middle.
And everything in between, Rick.
And I know we're not here yet, but I do know that Surf City has received some large grants to expand out some of, and we don't have the land that Surf City has either to do this, but I just want to make sure as we move forward, just if the committee could also consider if there's things we could be submitting grants for, we can ask help from our staff
Mhm.
to, to assist with that. I know Deb has done several for parks and things like that in the future, so let's not rule stuff
I've
out.
seen some and I've been kind of
Okay,
looking
good.
at them, so. Plus, I'm in contact with Katie, who is the Parks and Recreation manager, I guess,
For
for
Onslow County?
Onslow County.
Okay.
So I talked to her at the Onslow meeting, and she said that she had a few things on the calendar that she wanted to do over here.
Oh, good.
So if we can mesh that together, that would be great.
That would be great. Okay, next item, Mayor Pro Tem with the shoreline protection update.
Thank you, Mayor. Fran did an excellent job of covering the shoreline update for the month, and also in the mayor's desk report, there was quite a bit of information that basically repeated what Fran gave you in his report just a few minutes ago. We are, believe it or not, after 2 years, we are still working with the group at the homeowners at the north end of the island to try to get the restoration of the town's sandbag revetment underway. The core sand that came in this winter to that area that we've talked about already tonight, that has been a great barrier to keep the ocean waves off of the sandbags at the north end, both for the town's bag line as well as for the Topsail Reef bag line. So that's been a good thing, but that sand is starting to migrate into the inlet offshore, as we talked about, making the shore shallower and thus the wave action less. But anyway, we need to actually get back to some kind of a agreement with an engineer, which we're having problems with for the last several months, getting an agreement so we can get started on the restoration of the sandbags per the settlement agreement from the lawsuit that occurred several years ago. The other thing that I would just mention briefly, and Fran alluded to this in his report, he permitted an extra 40,000 cubic yards of sand for the Topsail Reef area in phase 1. And that was because we were hoping to get a change in the state legislation that would allow us to use the $1.5 million that was appropriated to North Topsail Beach going back to Harry Brown's tenure in the Senate, to put that extra sand at the reef because there is a tremendous need to protect that structure from erosion in the future. So hopefully, I had an update from our state lobbyist today, and that language to change the use of those funds from phase 2 into phase 1 through phase 4. That language is still in the documentation that the legislature is discussing with the governor as they try to settle the differences between what the legislature wants in the budget and what the governor will sign. So just an update on that. So hopefully we will have actually more sand to put up in that area behind the reef, which I think is probably the most eroded part of our 11 miles right now, to be honest. So just an update on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for Mayor Pro Tem? All right, then we're gonna move on. We've got Miss Laura Oxley here with us today from HR Management Solutions to give us an update on our condemnations.
Evening, Mayor and Board, thank you for inviting me. I know most of you. Laura Oxley, I was fortunate enough to work here as an employee. Then when I moved away, you take advantage of opportunities that you have. And the town being short-staffed is an opportunity for me to plug in just a little bit remotely to help out with just a couple of things. And I've really enjoyed that. This evening, I believe I'm here to talk about very generally nuisance abatements. I've been working with the town attorney in his direction, and of course, James Kennedy, building inspector, who's the subject matter on the building code. And like I said, just trying to help plug in and work in behind the scenes to assist. And speaking very broadly, I don't know how specific I'm going to go. I'm going to look to the town attorney. Just speaking very broadly in terms of the process that we're looking at. And James Kennedy has made an inspection on property in North Oxford Beach, has determined that in his opinions, there are some issues. He's properly affixed a notice, which is one of the steps in the process. I believe, in my opinion, we've given the property owner reasonable time to address those issues. We're at the point now where if it is the board's direction and town attorney's opinion, if he agrees to start setting a hearing, which I believe is something that you had alluded to earlier. Set a hearing, contact the property owner, let him know, give him a chance to attend, present representation. The building inspector will make the determination at that hearing, issue an order. I believe Mr. Reed's by statute, a minimum of 60 days to
The
correct.
corrective action, depending on what the order is, but you're right, within 60 days of the issuance of the order, the corrective action has to occur.
And then there's also an opportunity to appeal. So, and there's timeframes and triggers for that as well. I don't know how in the weeds we want to get it, but I think at this point, the town will be looking to set an administrative hearing. Issue an order.
At the public hearing?
Mr. Eads?
It's open to the public. It's not a Board of Aldermen hearing. The building inspector, I don't like it.
And so my question is, if the property owner does not, within that time frame, make the appropriate repairs that are required to make the building habitable or safe, at that point, is it within the town's legal rights to be able to have the property taken down and put a lien on it for those costs?
Well,
Is that how that
for
works?
legal rights, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure the
Well,
town. attorney-
first off, Ms. Ox is being very humble. She's got a law degree herself. So, and her contribution has been significant while we've been short-staffed. So I want to thank you publicly. I thank you privately. It depends on the nature, and I don't want to talk about any specific
Yeah, I know, I don't either.
because due process requires we have that hearing and, that the property owner is allowed to make his or her or its case.
Mhm.
So let's just talk hypothetically. If an order is issued, the homeowner has 10 days to appeal that order, and that appeal goes to this board,
Okay,
the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen will conduct a quasi judicial hearing, much like the Board of Adjustment does.
okay.
And then appeals to Superior Court and all that down the road. If they do not appeal the order after the administrative hearing with the building inspector, that order becomes final, and then it kicks into another statute. And depending on the extent and nature of the unsafe condition, yes, one of the remedies is to raise the building, and the cost of that, by raise, I mean take down, not
Mhm.
RAIC.
Yeah, we got that. Raise with the C. Raise with the C.
Right, the cost of that, what can be a lien on the property, and that's a pretty drastic measure. There's another mechanism we could go to, and that's, we could have a petition to court to appoint essentially a trustee to handle that. We'll just, again, it's a case-by-case analysis. I mean, if it's a property that's in imminent threat of collapsing, then that's when you go out there with a bulldozer if they don't appeal.
Mhm.
If it's windows are broken out, roofs caving in, but it doesn't look like it's in imminent danger of collapse. And again, it just depends on the nature and extent of
Okay.
the unsafe condition.
Okay, so basically the outcome of each building as it gets to that point will come back to the board.
Could come back to the board.
Okay,
The way it works is the building inspector has a right, whether it's via a complaint or a visual inspection, to deem a property unsafe.
okay,
And to do so, first step is you have to put a note, you have to send notice to the property owner.
Mhm.
You also have to what we call post the property, notice the property's been condemned as unsafe. Then the statute reads, if corrective action is not taken within promptly, then that's when he says, issues the notice that there's going to be a hearing. And the property owner has at least 10 days, like you can't have the hearing the next day. And then that picks up where I left off earlier.
Yeah. And hopefully some of these, some of the property owners will do the necessary repairs.
Right.
Right, okay.
Do we know where the property owner for the property that Mr. Evans discussed with us earlier during open forum, do we know where this property owner actually lives?
Yes. Public knowledge.
You know where he works too.
We know where he works, we know where he
Just trying to
lives.
get an idea of if.
He
if
bought
a-
another house a few years ago in downtown Wilmington.
so he's local. Relatively local, so it's not like we're sending a notice to somebody to show up at a hearing that lives in Sacramento,
Right.
right? Okay, that was hypothetical.
Yeah.
It would be-
Hypothetically, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, but it wouldn't matter anyway. I mean, you
I
have a
know,
duty to
but-
keep your if you live in Europe, you have a duty to keep your property.
It just takes the, I couldn't make it because out of the equation to a large degree, hypothetically.
Just one quick question. for
Yes.
Brian. So Brian, I mean, one of the obvious issues hypothetically that raises something like that is the safety around those type of things. And I'm assuming the inspectors, obviously we're going to go through the process using counsel and stuff. But I'm assuming that you could help, if it was something where there was an imminent danger to the public or whatever like that, we can rely on you to make sure that, I don't like the idea of something that's falling down.
Right.
And I think about, what was the house that burned down?
On
the beach?
Topsail Road.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a couple of years ago. That sat there for a long time, apparently with insurance and stuff. And so I'm just,
Oh, you're talking about New
Investigation.
River Inlet, yeah.
yeah.
Corrective action doesn't mean that you have to fix it. You can.
Board it up.
adequately, Yeah, protect it.
Okay.
And, the goal is to
Reinforce.
protect the public.
It's
safety.
public safety, okay.
And in the event you can't find the property owner, there's a mechanism in the statute where they're deemed served if you post the property at least 10 days prior to the hearing and run it in the local newspaper at least once, at least 1 week before the hearing.
That's fine. I was just looking at process more than anything else, Brian, to make sure we.
I inherited one of these in another town in the middle part of the state where they did not follow the procedure. And they tore the house down, and it's not a pretty situation.
So I think the really good news for all of us on the board is that that our town manager was able to connect with Ms. Oxley and bring her in to provide some additional assistance, because this is an issue that we've been struggling to get to with the volume of new builds and
She's helping Jimmy out.
yeah. So thank
Thank
you,
you,
Laura. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
And I point out as well too, one of the other complication or lagging factors as far as time is, as of July 1st, what was the old statutes under chapter 168 of the general statutes, they were recodified in what's now called chapter 160B. So we had, and Ms. Hill did a great job bringing our, in the planning board, our code of ordinances across that bridge, but some of that process, I think for this particular structure that was mentioned, started under 168.
Any additional questions from Ms. Oxley or Mr. Eads? Thank you so much.
Again, I want to thank Laura for
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Did this answer your questions from earlier? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's effort.
Sure. The next item is new business. It's Chief Younginger donation of land.
Thought we were gonna do parking.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
You have to wait.
I would. Just a brief update on how we're doing with paid parking. As of October the 5th, Tuesday, our revenue for this year is at $682,000.
Mhm.
Want to mention that, and we're on schedule to hit right at our goal, which was 750,000 for this first year, keeping in mind that's not a full year. And keeping in mind it's the first year and trying to get everything going and getting everything set up. And I think it's important to note that that's a lot of money in terms of what we would have to raise our taxes, our property taxes, 7.5 cents a hundred across the town to bring in that kind of money. Okay. And so we're getting money, we're getting revenue, we're getting it without having to tax our citizens, our property owners. And we're getting it from people who are using our facilities and our beaches. And I see it as a win all the way around, and hopefully even more we'll see next year when we have a full year. I just wanted to.
Okay, new business. Now we'll talk about the donation of land.
I had a call from Mr. Rufus Murray. And by the way, Mr. Rufus Murray is also the gentleman who owns the company that's putting our roof on the building. And the roof is looking really nice. I think it's gonna be a very strong construction. He owns 2 parcels of land across from the fishing pier, right in that area. There are 20 parcels out there. The town owns 18 of those. And he says, I'd like for y'all just to own all of them, so I'd like to donate those 2 to the town. So we needed to bring it to the board, and then we would talk to the attorney.
Yeah, and we need to add that closed session if his contract's not finished with town hall. Is that correct?
It's done.
His company.
He's talking about the conflict.
Well, the appearance.
We haven't-
That's
We
We
haven't paid the final invoices on
Right,
town hall.
but we also have a warranty period of concern. That's something I'd like to look into a little bit deeper.
I told him I'd just give him an update after this, and we talked, he said
And
he's
these,
had it forever, and
it's Sea Ranches, I think is what it's called, right? The subdivision. I mean, they're, Deb, I think that's what it's called across from here, but basically my point is, at this point, we have 18 lots because it's all wetland.
it's
Right.
Condi,
It's-
Condi wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, his-
So I think
his
if this
background.
decision or moving forward with this decision had to be postponed a while, nothing is gonna happen with this
Yeah,
parcel
I have-
unless, so we can talk
I
about
have
it.
some thoughts to share in closed session.
Okay. Nobody gives us really great lots, Brian.
The subdivision name was Blue Horizon.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Deb.
Okay.
Across the street.
Okay, so we'll talk through that in closed session. Okay. So then the next item would be NC Byways sponsorship.
I'm also on the board of directors for North Carolina Beach and Inlet and Waterway Association. The annual fall conference this year is in Wilmington on Thursday and Friday, November the 4th and 5th at the Coastline Center downtown. Agenda items this year include a couple things that are going to be significant to us. The first is an update on the red knot designation and where that's all going with that thing. And the second thing is there's going to be a briefing on the changes forthcoming to the National Flood Insurance Program.
Mhm.
And they're big and they're not good. They're not good for the customer. But so there's some good things on the agenda this year. Historically, the town has supported this thing both by attending. Usually have our board members, mayor and our manager attend, and I would like to certainly extend an invitation to our new manager to attend this. And secondary to that, the town always comes forth as a sponsor for the event. And this year, I was on the phone with the executive director today, and the sponsorship issue this year is more significant because the cost of registration isn't paying the full freight for the attendees. And they're trying to keep the cost down to get people there. And what's making up the cost difference is the sponsorships. And we have historically been a gold sponsor. And a gold sponsorship this year is $1,500. And with that $1,500, we get 3 registrations included. And I would like to ask the board to favorably consider the town remaining a gold sponsor for NC Byways annual conference.
I would make the motion that we become a gold sponsor for NC Byways.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're just gonna go on to the mayor's report. I appreciate everybody coming out in person today. As you know, I'm all over the place tonight. Go ahead, Brian.
So
Sorry.
I'll be brief.
He put his hand up.
you recall, Mayor and Board, last month, I identified a budget bill that passed in the House that slipped in, I believe it was 5 topics that limit a report, or would limit if it passes General Assembly. It's not vetoed, that would limit the town's ability to regulate trees, the placement of billboards, for relocated billboards, fees on cell towers, short-term rentals, and I'm forgetting one. Stormwater main. issues.
Signs too. I mean, signs
said
also.
billboards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
billboards, yeah. And I think Mayor Pro Tem Benson mentioned this a while ago. Apparently, the General Assembly's come up with a plan to informally submit a proposed budget to the governor. And the thought process is, and this is somewhat unorthodox, if not the very first time this has ever happened, is they work it out informally, and that way there's no veto. On the September 27th, Mayor Karen Alexander from Salisbury, North Carolina, she's the president of the League of Municipalities, wrote a letter to the governor on behalf of the league, pointing out those items and asking the governor to basically work out an agreement that takes those away. So I just want to bring that to your attention as a follow-up. Also, recently, there's a tentative settlement in a national opioid lawsuit against the 3 main drug suppliers. The tentative terms are $22.7 billion over 20 years, I believe. North Carolina is slated to receive around $750 million. That money will be split up amongst the counties and 17 individual cities. The city of Jacksonville is one of those cities. The city of Wilmington is one of those cities. Raleigh, Winston-Salem, the larger cities. We're not eligible to opt in because of our population size, but to the extent Onslow gets that money, could help our community, and all that money has to be earmarked to treat opioid issues. That's all I have, other than what we need to talk about in closed session, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the attorney? No. I have been spending a lot of time just getting out my mayor's report. It seems like people are enjoying reading that, and I am getting questions, so I do appreciate the questions coming in. Questions in email form or calling me are typically better because I'm not on Facebook all the time, so I won't always see it on social media, but I try. So, I mean, that's all I have for today. So I'll just go around to the aldermen, and Ms. Platt, we'll start with you.
All right, you'll be happy to know that I have a very small list this time. And Mayor, I really appreciate the mayor's report that you do. I think that's awesome. I love that you contact us, you see if there's anything we want. I think it's really great for the citizens to be able to keep apprised of what we're up to. And thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really want to thank the chief for all the hard work he's been doing, wearing 2 hats. He's been great. Welcome, Danielle. I also want to remind everybody that our neighbors all have events coming right up. We have Surf City's Ocean Fest this weekend. Next weekend, we have Autumn with Topsail, and then we have Sneaks Ferry Shrimp Festival the week after that. So there's a lot to do this fall. Turtle season is winding down. We have just a few nests left. And then that'll be done. I'm anticipating it'll be done probably by the 1st of November, probably right around there. And everybody go out and vote.
Thank you. Alderman Leonard.
I have a short report too. First, thanks for everyone coming out. Thanks to our new clerk for a great job on the first of hopefully many board packets. Very well done. Minutes are outstanding. Just a great job. Thanks to Chief Youngener for his hard work as an interim town manager. You knew way back in 1977 that master's degree that you got from that fine university in Central Missouri that I am also an alumni of would come in handy someday. Welcome, Alice, to our town, and I really appreciate everything that everybody on the board's doing. We're all really working well together, and everybody's got a slice of this little pie that they seem to be able to, everyone has a niche and it's working really well. And I appreciate that. I wish I had some good news to report on where we are with our COBRA repeal. But right now, I have no news, and that is as of about 3 hours today from a phone message with Ray Celeste up in Congressman Murphy's office. No movement at this time. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I would second and third my fellow alderman's comments. Thank the chief for doing an excellent job as the interim town manager. Welcome our new town clerk Danielle and our new town manager Alice Durian. Other than that, that's my report.
Wow, you all are doing so good too. Alderman Meyer.
Well, Connie took half of mine, so. I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting and they brought up all the fun stuff coming up this month, so October's gonna be busy. And then the following weekend is Halloween, so the kids will be out trick or treating. My other little tidbit was I went to the Onslow County Board of Commissioners meeting and they had the social services annual report. And it's pretty much how you would think it might be. Everything has gone up from the year 1920 to 2021. The EBT cards have almost doubled. The new applications for energy money has gone up. Just about everything. Medicaid has gone up 14%. The one thing they did mention too was they have 40 licensed foster homes.
Wow.
And they have 148 children. So all those kids are spread out in 40 homes. They also gave an update on COVID. It had been down and then it went back up, and they had, now this was as of Monday night, they had 5 new fatalities. 4 of them were under 65. However, they all had pre-existing conditions, and they have 9 in the ICU. And if you want to go online and find it, you can go on to Onslow County and look at the annual report for the Department of Social Services. And you can get a little more information. The other thing that I noted was they had New River Waterfront Park had some damage from Florence, and they only got $100,000 to fix it. And the bill was $498,000. And plus they have a $40,000 bill for professional services. So they took $438,632,000 of the tourism money and put it towards that. So, but it was already in the budget. It was just a presentation. So, and that of course, all your hard work, and welcome Danielle and welcome Alice. And everybody, thank you all for coming and have a great week.
Thank you.
I'll try to keep the lawyer speak short.
Please do.
Hey, hello.
I'm just kidding.
So, no, I want to thank Mr. Carter and Caitlin. I think that we're making a lot of headway in this stuff, and it's, I think we'll get there. I think Doug feels pretty good about it as well. I want to thank the police chief, and again, apologize to him because I was kidding when I told you it'd be 5 months. We do appreciate you taking that. Welcome, Danielle and Alice. Can't wait to work with you. I think it's going to be great to have you on board. Alderman Leonard mentioned something about parking. And I think that's something that has made me feel really good that we're raising money in a looking at ways to raise money without having to tax the residents and the homeowners. And I think, that's a very good number. And we've actually got a good vendor. working with us too. And I think people, even we've got a net back contract, and I think one of the things that I like about that is we have no upfront cost. And he had to front everything, and we don't need more. It's nice to get something where you just net back your profits, and I think that's worked very well for us. And I like the report as well. Everybody vote, and thank you for coming.
Okay, then what we need, thank you, Alderman Grant. What we need is a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
The purposes, Madam Clerk, are. Just like stated in the agenda.
You gonna take a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry. Yes, please.
I want the minutes to reflect the purposes we're going at that stage. It's all. Well, it's all.
Hey, Brian.
Is there any non-rental or one? Okay, thank you.
Hey, Brian, did Alice try to take out the clause where the town manager has to carry a weapon?
You do police here or what?
He told me that was in there.
Wait, oh, I thought you were talking about what you and I talked about.
No, we're talking about, it was always telling me, it's like, does the town manager always have to be carrying? And he goes, yep.
Well, this one got
You can go ahead and tell her that.
Alice, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So since we're going into closed session, I think we're gonna need to turn off the audio, but we can always fill you in tomorrow if there's something that you need to know about as relates to the contracts for the fire station and those things. But
Okay.
we usually do try to get everything shut down when we go into closed session. And then we'll only be on for a few minutes when we get back. So there's no sense in keeping you on the line.
Okay.
Enjoy your night. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. It was a pleasure. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Look forward to being there soon.
Yeah, can I unplug the microphone now?
Yeah.
Probably,
Okay.
probably more than some of the other.
wait, can I turn it on,
festivals,
Deb?
because they have-
Yes, we're on. Are we on? Okay, so we are back from being in closed session. No action was taken in closed session. I do believe that we need to vote.
We have one item of new business. We have two nominations or two applicants we'd like to nominate for service on the town's committee for the Community Action Team. And those two applicants are Mariana Harness and Michael Pawelko. And I'm sorry if he's watching and I've murdered his name, but I move that we nominate those two individuals for the Community Action Team.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Hold on, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was.
Can you approve?
Motion to unblock, yeah, unblock the screen.
Are we good?
Well, I'm thinking out of abundance of caution, to the extent there's any compensation change with any town employees, that needs to be voted on, just like a new contract.
Okay, so is there anybody here that would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we award a one-time bonus to the acting town manager of $5,000. But it not be awarded until Alice actually joins us.
I'll second that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm always told it, but it's not necessary. I wanted. I'll talk to you more.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Now, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hey, enjoy your trip.
How's it going? Once
And I got-
everybody leaves,
Yeah.
are we gonna try and do coffee before the 30th?
Well,
Too, like Tom.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I'll do whatever everybody wants to do. I have it on my calendar right now for Splash.
The 30th.
For the 30th.
Okay.
It might.
If we have it, if we do it now, of course, Rick couldn't be there.
Right. Well, if we do it somewhere, he could zoom in. Potentially. I really think Splash is gonna be enough. Yeah. I don't know. That's the last election. That was a funny event.
There's nothing on there for us or anything.
Sorry. I think we're. I'm very-